Well, hello, Zincit. I am Mr. Hassan.
So I'm here to offer you out of the five packages that we have, option E, right? And so if we look at option E, it basically, I think the best way to describe it would be for me to go through each option and explain why I think E is the best option. And so as we see, the upfront cost for package A is 25 million, right? Our team thinks there's a 10% chance of it actually going through, which is very, very small, as you can imagine. I know that you have it at higher 60%, but looking at just that number, most likely this is going to result in a net loss for our team. And so I'm not willing to give 25 million upfront just because I'm not confident in its abilities to actually get FDA approved. If we go to B, now we're at a net, right? But you got to consider all the time and effort that's going to go into this just for the potential that it doesn't get approved, right? And so that's why I definitely need some skin in the game. I need some profit guaranteed for this, right? It can't be net because there's time and effort getting put into it. There has to be pay for that kind of purchase. And then anything above would be a risk that I'm not willing to take. And so that really leaves us with C, D, and E. If you see the two expected values for C and D, there's no difference for you, right? Regardless of between the two options, you're going to get the same amount of money. But for me, I'm going to get a higher potential, or there's a higher chance that I'm going to get, higher expected value, which really eliminates C right there, right? Because there's no negative for you. And so that really leaves us with option D and E. And so the reason I think E is better, of course, is for just around an 8% decrease for you, there's a jump of 40%. But the reason I say this is because there's clearly a huge gap in the amount of return that I'm getting from this versus what you would be getting from this deal. But we're both equal partners in this. And so that's why I think, given what we learned in the class, we have to be splitting things 50-50, right? That's my offer. My offer is option E.
In your package, that includes making sure, because one of my key requirements is to get the FDA approval, to have it submitted for FDA approval. I believe that there is a 60% chance that it will be approved. It's my drug. I worked on it. I believe in the efficacy of it. And so it will be, in my opinion, most likely more than 50%. Like I
Yeah.
said, a 60% chance.
Yeah, I think we're going to confirm that we will be submitting it to get FDA approved. And so
Okay.
because we have all these costs associated with it, with the upfront, you can imagine and understand why, A, B, and C really don't make sense. Anything, the upfront matters for us because we have no guarantee that it does get approved, and our team is expecting a much lower likelihood that it does get approved. And so that's why I think it makes more sense to have a smaller upfront payment. But then you do get the upside, right? So if you look at option E, you do get a huge upside. You think there's a 60% chance, then I think this is a perfect example of why you should go with this, right? If you have such a strong desire, and I know it's your dream to have it be FDA approved and get it legitimized, then this gives you the most upside at 20 million. If it does get approved, you're getting a giant paycheck of $32 million total for this. And keep in mind, like, we are still, like, the gap between what you're making versus me in the expected return is around $8 million, right? If you look at between 16
Mhm.
and 24. So it's pretty dramatic. And regardless of this, I think you really only have one option here, right? Because the other option is you get 20 million up front, but that person's not going to get it FDA approved. But we're willing to put it in right now.
I appreciate the offer. I appreciate the um, description and explanation of each of the different packages. And so I do understand that there is a big gap. I think that would you be willing to go with package D? I think that's more favorable to me with the extra 5 million upfront. And it's more in keeping with the valuation, the expected value of my drug. If the chance of approval, if you came up from your 10% and I'm at 60%, if we came to choose one of these packages that is more in keeping with a kind of maybe a middle of the road percentage of approval, and then our risks are basically the same. So for instance, if we say there's a 40% chance of approval, what do the numbers look like, if we do the math with the 40%, and which one of these packages gets, is this closer to that?
Right.
So that we were
That,
both equal. Does that make
that's
sense?
yeah, that's understandable. The only problem is that our team has already confirmed the 10% number. So from that point, we can't really change the chance that we of what we think, right? Like, that's kind of like done by our professionals on our team. And of course, there's always going to be differing thoughts or probabilities that people will come up with. But our team, which we have a lot of faith in our team, the team has always performed very, very well in their percentages, in their assumptions. So we're gonna have to stick to that 10%.
Okay. And so you're valuing, so if you say package E, which you suggested at first was your offer, your Zincit is saying that 16 million is the expected value of the company based on the 12 million upfront, and if approved, the bonus to myself would be 20 million, and you're also agreeing to foot the $10 million cost for the FDA approval process. Is that correct?
Correct.
I think that I do think that you have me almost convinced. I think that E is a good package. I appreciate the consideration for, while I think your expected value is very low, it's what we have to work with, and you are, Zincit is going to pay the 10 million in FDA approval for the FDA approval process. And so I really think that there is a 60% chance. So I feel like I'm going to receive that $20 million bonus. And I'm willing to, even though I was offered the 20 million, I'm willing to take that risk of 8 million for a larger return on the bonus should it get approved.